What's up, everybody? Your boy here, Ryan Thomas, live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, bringing you another edition of the Thomas Take, and man, I am excited to kick this one off. I've had this question a lot, and we are here in May, folks. It's May. We got June, we got July, we got August, we got September. I know there's some leagues out there that are crazy enough, anxious enough, to get their fantasy football draft started immediately after the draft was over. I know some, I believe it or not, I know some that went this route. I'm not one of them. I wait until the last Sunday before the season starts, or I wait until the Sunday before that. August 26th for me, or August 26th for me, or September 2nd. My apologies. And those are the dates this year that I have fantasy football drafts already. That is what I know. That is locked and loaded, set in stone. The Thomas Take Sports Podcast Fantasy Football League, Year 1, 10 teams locked and loaded, 5 teams in each division. 6 teams make it. The top 2 seeds, the top 2 teams that finish the season first and second are gifted the first round bye. 2-quarterback league. I'm very, very excited to kick that off this year. Very excited to have the 9 other gentlemen in the league to take on yours truly, the 4-time champion. 5-time champion in fantasy football. Man, 2016, 2017, went back-to-back. First and only guy to ever do it in my league with my buddies that are diehard football fans. But they're just not on my level, and that's that. So just to let the Thomas Take Fantasy Football League know what they're up to, what they're up against, I should say, that's it. Yours truly, the champ, 5-time champ. I'm really going to slay it. I got it all figured out. So that being said, I am ready to announce who I believe should be the first player taken off the board. That I know if yours truly is picking first, this is the guy that I am taking. And people can agree, people can disagree, but this is the guy that I'm taking. There's plenty of players that I could take. The obvious one would be Antonio Brown. He's been one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League for the last 4 or 5 years. One of the most human highlight reel players in the National Football League. He makes catches that not many people can make. He is open. He gets open so easily. He's got a great quarterback throwing to him. That offense is high-powered. That offense is potent, but I think Juju Smith-Schuster, his role only increases, and you also have to throw in the fact that they drafted James Washington out of Oklahoma State, who I think is a decent player. I think is a player that is an X factor in that offense. They have a lot of offensive weapons, Le'Veon Bell being another, James Conner being another, and there's only one football, so I think is Antonio Brown the number one option in that offense in terms of the passing game? 100%, but there's other options that are creeping closer to him than there was in years past. So could we see a situation some weeks where Juju Smith-Schuster has a better game than Antonio Brown? I definitely think so, because it happened last year. The next possible candidate for the first overall pick to me would be Todd Gurley. He had a fantastic year last year. He's the heartbeat of that offense. He had a great rookie year, so-so sophomore slump year, and then this year, really fantastic. I mean, he was great week in and week out this past year, and really carried the load for a lot of teams around the nation. Ezekiel Elliott could be thrown in there, but he could have a Todd Gurley-esque sophomore year, being that he's the only weapon in that offense now that Dez is gone, now that Witten is gone. And I'm not a big fan of what Dallas did this offseason. Another addition to the first overall pick possibility would be Le'Veon Bell. He catches a lot of passes. He's a great running back. But I think with this contract extension looming over his head, could it become a distraction? I don't want to take that chance if I'm picking first overall. David Johnson, first overall pick possibility, but he was hurt last year, and maybe he's not ready. There's a question mark there. With all of those players, there are somewhat question marks. I think Todd Gurley is the one you can make a case that he doesn't have any question marks. He's probably the most bona fide first overall player that anyone could pick, and I would agree with it. But I'm taking somebody else. I am taking New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara, and I'm going to tell you why. One, there is no player from last year that contributed more to a team week 5 on than Alvin Kamara. I was on the show literally 2 weeks before he became a hot commodity and said, people, if he's available still, week 3, I understand it, but if he's available still, pick up Alvin Kamara. You will not regret it. This kid is really, really special. The New Orleans Saints at one point had Adrian Peterson, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, and Adrian Peterson was shoved out the door because the New Orleans Saints knew that Alvin Kamara was special and that Adrian Peterson was past his prime. They knew that Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara were a great power flash combination. Let's throw that in there. Mark Ingram now is suspended for the first 4 weeks of this season due to some PDE usage. PED usage. I don't know if I said PEU. PED usage. I think I said PED. That adds to Alvin Kamara's fantasy value, mightily adds to his fantasy value. This kid, this running back, is very, very special. And the fact is, a buddy of mine, Cody White, who listens to the show, picked up Alvin Kamara. And in my league, when you pick up a player and he's on your final roster, you give up the last round pick of the draft, and then that player's stock goes way up the next year. The first year, you get him basically for free. So my player that I would take first overall, with no question about it, feast or famine, sophomore slump or not, Alvin Kamara is the guy that I'm taking. Because if I pass him up again, due to the fact that I didn't pick him up when I knew to pick him up, I'd be kicking myself for the second year in a row. And I'm not going to do that. The champ does not do that. Despite the fact that I didn't get Alvin Kamara, I did win the title still. So I guess I would have won it by a little bit more. But to say the least, Drew Brees knows how to use him. Drew Brees likes to throw him the ball. Alvin Kamara is not a guy that gets brought down easily. Alvin Kamara is definitely a guy that avoids first contact. I'm sure if you went and looked at the stat sheet, yards after contact, Alvin Kamara would be one of the top in the National Football League. Among wide receivers thrown in there, he'd probably still be one of the top guys. So that's the guy that I'm taking if I have the first overall pick. And if people think I'm crazy for it, just kiss the ring.